In the world's greatest country, in its most pivotal state, lies Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, an economic hub that's as vibrant as it is ideologically eclectic. Its just over 700,000 residents will play a critical role in deciding the course of American leadership and thereby the world. Who are the thinkers, workers, and leaders that will decide our collective fate? Join me, Moshe Kurtz, as I walk through the valley and find out. Thank you, my friends, for joining me today as I walk through the valley with Ms. Carol Obando-Derstine, previous Executive Director of Skills USA Council and the Children's Coalition of the Lehigh Valley, also previously a teacher at Northampton Community College, and was for Senator Casey's Regional Manager and Statewide Latino Affairs Advisor, and coming off fresh from nearly a decade of working on engineering and energy issues at PPL Electric Utilities. And of course, a candidate for the 7th Congressional District here in Pennsylvania, covering perhaps all or a huge swath, at least, of the Lehigh Valley. So, Ms. Obando-Derstine, it's all right if I start with a very direct question?
Sure. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Really appreciate you coming. Shout out to, Karen Cooper, a number of our friends here at the synagogue whom you know. So anyway, direct question. Why should you be the one to represent Pennsylvania's 7th Congressional District?
Thank you so much for that question. I'm running because, frankly, I've had enough of watching working families struggle to make ends meet, some of them choosing between heating and eating, while politicians like Ryan McKenzie vote to make things worse. I'm also running because Trump is making it feel like it's a crime to be Latino in America these days, and I couldn't stay on the sidelines and watch that happen. I'm someone who came to this country at 3 years old. Was raised by parents who were both in unions, and I understand what it's like, what it means to struggle and fight. I've been showing up for this district the entire time I've been here for over 2 decades. It's where I've raised my kids, built my career, and established deep roots in this community, in this district. I have connected people to the services they needed. I've prepared young people for the workforce, and I've helped lower utility costs as an energy engineer. I have the most depth and breadth of experience of any of the candidates, and I'm here to and running for this position to stand up for us and to really deliver relief for this district in a way that I'm not seeing from Ryan McKenzie.
Well, I'm glad you talked about the bring utility costs lower, because definitely, especially gas prices right now, we're speaking at the time of recording that America is engaged in, I think we're allowed to call it a war, military operation, whatever term they want to use. And I was kind of scared as I was driving by the gas pump this morning. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's kind of like a Russian roulette. You never know when to actually get the gas. And is it going to go higher? Is it going to go lower? It's almost like, do I invest in this stock now? Do I not invest in this stock? Do I pull out of it? So glad to hear you have that kind of experience. We'll get back into the juicy, political stuff that you already started to allude to. We'll get there in just a moment. But I think, you already started talking a little bit about your upbringing. You said you came here when you were 3 years old. So what I would love, and I think our listeners would like to learn a little bit more about yourself. What was your childhood like? What was it like? Do you remember coming to the United States? And what I always like to ask people is, did 10-year-old Carol always imagine that she'd be running for one of the most important congressional districts in the entire nation?
I'll tell you what it was like growing up. When we came here, it was because my parents had both lived through a violent civil war in Colombia and sacrificed everything for a shot at the American dream.
Wow.
When we came, we lived on a floor with just one bathroom and about a dozen relatives. Because that's what starting over looked like, and that's what survival looked like. And that's the experience for so many immigrants right now. They love this country. They see it as, the land of opportunity, which is what my parents felt and what I have a deep, profound love for this country. I had it early on, and you asked me what 10-year-old Carol was like. It was someone who loved this country very much because I saw opportunity here, and that's why I worked so hard to pay it forward. In high school, I had 3 jobs. I paid my way through college because my parents couldn't afford it. We were working class. My dad had been a teacher in Colombia. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but when we came here, Dad didn't want to teach anymore, and so my mom was a machine operator. She was in a union, AFL-CIO. My dad was a hospital technician, but and he was SEIU, but for a while before he was a hospital technician, while he was trying to figure things out, it was rough. It was really rough. And I grew up in an area in North Jersey, in the city, in a city that had a lot of urban challenges, like so many other areas. And so the 10-year-old me just knew that I wanted to use education as a way to better myself. I've always prioritized education. I paid my way through school, had 3 jobs, I mentioned that, and was able to go straight from undergrad to Penn State. And that's how I ended up coming to Pennsylvania. I have a master's in community psychology and social change. Always made it a priority to give back because it's almost like my way of paying it forward for this country that has been so generous to me and my family.
Wow. I mean, that's a remarkable story right there. And what I'm curious is, how did you started off, I mean, again, I'm giving just a little bit of the cliff notes of your biography. There's obviously a lot to talk about there, but I know that you previously served as an executive director for 2 different non-for-profits, Skills USA, Children's Coalition of Lehigh Valley, but also you had worked for Senator Casey, as we talked about. So how did you make that transition from the nonprofit world to the political world?
Yeah, but the theme is giving back. It's paying it forward. It's helping others get ahead because I have done that my entire life. That's at the core who I am. I am about service above self. I know that's the motto of Rotary, and I am a Rotarian, so I can use it.
I never knew what you called people who go to Rotary, so it's Rotarian.
Rotarians, that's right.
I learned something new every day.
But you asked me about the way in which I started my career. I actually started as a child therapist, so that was really like my first professional role. I mean, I had been working since the age of 16, and I had 3 jobs. I worked after school at the record bureau for the police department.
Oh, wow.
And
so you have some exposure to law enforcement work.
Right, that's right. And,
I just wanted to make sure you didn't leave that off your bio.
Help
me out over here.
Thank you so much. It is lengthy. I've done a lot of different things, and I also worked in retail. And I had 2 jobs in retail, and then the after-school job that I had at the record bureau for the police. And so my professional role, first professional role, after my master's of in community psychology and social change, was as a child therapist. I had been a therapeutic staff support while I was earning that degree, but then I became a mobile therapist and a behavior specialist consultant, and I was in homes. I was working and in schools, working with families who were struggling to get by, and on top of that, they had children who were neurodivergent, who were on the autism spectrum disorder. It was tough. And so
I should say, God bless you for what you do. My wife she works as a speech-language pathologist for the Allentown School District. So she actually is working with a younger population, children who are neurodivergent, who have special needs. So you guys should chat sometime.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But being in the nonprofit community-based work, it was really eye-opening, and I saw day to day, hour to hour, I saw how policies impacted families, how they impacted schools, teachers, the community. It's a web. Everything is interconnected. It was around the time that I worked for the Children's Coalition of the Lehigh Valley in particular, where I got to learn a lot more about Senator Casey's stances on a number of things. And I really appreciated his advocacy and standing up for children and families. And that's what interested me.
Did you find, sorry to interject, do you find that you aligned with him policy-wise, generally speaking?
Yes. He was concerned about a myriad of things, very, very active and very vocal about the importance of investing in early childhood education, for example. Those are things that stand out. And so, but so many other things. And so I saw an opportunity to work in his office. I initially thought I wasn't going to get it because my master's is in community psychology and social change and not political science. I thought erroneously, of course. Now I very vocal about that, but I really thought that people that worked in government just had political science degrees. I was mistaken, and I'm glad I was given that opportunity to work in his office and leverage all the skill sets that I had of not just my own upbringing, because I mentioned just being working class and what that meant and the immigrant experience and growing up in a tough urban environment with a lot of other challenges that were happening in the community, what that was like. And then all the experiences and all the stories that I picked up along the way working with families and a lot of folks who had a lot of significant needs. And so what I saw is an elected official that really was delivering for his constituents, that really took the time, understood what was happening, and that connected the dots and was good listener.
Well, speaking of connecting complicated networks, I don't know if this is a good segue, but I know that most recently you served nearly a decade for PPL Electric Utilities, which is really important here in the Lehigh Valley, and that you earned your degree in engineering while you were there. So I'm curious, how would serving as an engineer transfer over to what you would potentially be doing in Congress?
I always had the mindset of being a problem solver. I just didn't have the degree, the engineering degree. But when I was working for the senator, we had some significant storms come through Pennsylvania. I don't know, some people remember Hurricane Sandy, some people don't, but a lot of us do. Because
from Long Island, so I mean, I remember the waters flooding our entire neighborhood.
And the power outages that ensued. That experience and learning about how the utilities were rebuilding their grid and strengthening their grid led to an opportunity to work for PPL. And I was already more interested in and getting more interested in what a clean and sustainable energy future could look like. So I saw an opportunity for at PPL for an opening as a regional affairs director. And so I went for it, and I was really fortunate. And once again, I remained in the district that I'm running in. I covered several counties for PPL. It included Lehigh, Northampton, and Carbon counties.
That's really essential.
Exactly. So. It didn't have Monroe. Monroe is also a sliver of Monroe is in the 7th Congressional District, but it's small.
That's actually news to me. You did a lot more research than I did on this, which makes sense. You're the one running for the office.
But you're getting at an important what I did, an important topic that I want to discuss, because it's a decade of my life, right? What was I doing for that decade?
Sure.
PPL. I was connecting people and low-income folks, seniors, small businesses, to helping them, I should say, helping them reduce their energy bills and connecting them to services and programs that we had to help lower their utility bills, but also teaching them how to do it and how to be more energy efficient, how to shop for their electricity supply. So it was helping to lower their costs at a time when politicians talk about lowering costs, but they don't have that experience. I was doing it. And during those years of just learning so much about how the grid was transitioning to a cleaner grid, more decarbonized, it interested me so much so that I wanted to go back to school. And all along the way, I was preparing myself. I was attending Lehigh University's seminars they had through the Energy Systems Engineering program. And I was learning at night, just doing extra research, talking to the engineers because I thought that they were fascinating. They were working on cutting edge technology that PPL was implementing. And so I went to the director of the program, the Energy Systems Engineering program, and I said, I know someone who wants to to study. And he thought it was an engineer or someone else at PPL. I said, no, me. You've been seeing me for years. I've been showing up. I've been learning. I've been doing research on my own. And I applied and I got in. And so at night, as a working mom and a full-time worker at PPL, I went back to school and I was accepted. I was so excited, got accepted at the beginning of 2020. You all will know what time that is.
Oh, yes. That was the COVID era right there.
Exactly.
That's when I finished my rabbinical school. So I went through a similar kind of situation in that regard. Got my degree. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah. So I got accepted before COVID. And I was all excited, and this was going to be really just life-changing. I was going to pursue a STEM degree. I had never done that before, but I had years of learning and teaching myself and just availing myself of resources.
Well, I think that's something important. You know, this is why these long-form interviews to me are helpful, because when I just read your biography and the bullet points and said engineer at PPL or something along those lines, I imagine you kind of just as hunkered down in an office in your ivory tower all day. And I mean, I don't far be for me to undermine what is, the sophisticated and academic studies that goes into it. That's very important. And that's something that should be emphasized. But I think what is striking me that's very unique about your experience, that you're able to take your sophistication and what you studied, but you're able to go to the common person in our area and educate them and help them understand how these technicalities could translate into an easier living, cost of living for them.
That's right. Yeah, we have to work on the affordability of everyday life and working on lowering the essentials of life. And that includes housing, healthcare, groceries, utilities, gas, and childcare. And so I took something that I was very interested in, energy, and the transition that we've been seeing because of the availability of solar and wind and the proliferation of that, and the fact that those costs to implement them were going down. And I wanted to learn, because that is a concrete way that families can benefit from if they have solar on their roof, for example, they can lower their utility costs, and the jobs that creates is also another part of the equation here, that it creates good paying jobs, in many instances good paying union jobs. So it's also good for the economy.
So that's good. So actually, I'm going to ask you a question I was saving for later, but I think it fits in right over here, which is I want to pivot for a second to foreign policy. Sure. Because right now at the time of recording, it's toward the end of March. And as of the date of this recording, the United States is in military I don't know if I'm allowed to say war, but at least military conflict with Iran right now. Mm-hmm. And one of the complicating factors is that we are dependent on oil being transported from that region of the world back to the United States. And the economic factor there is a very complicated aspect of this conflict. So would shifting to electricity and these different kinds of energy, would that help us with these kind of foreign issues?
Absolutely. It is a national security issue. And being energy independent is a top priority for America. So yes, it does tie to this conversation about what's happening in the Middle East. Because if we rely more on renewable energy that we can generate here in America, it is better for our wallets. It's better. It creates good paying jobs, in many instances, good paying union jobs. It's a national security matter. It touches a lot of other boxes, checks off a lot of boxes. And the one thing that I talk about on the campaign trail that a lot of times people just think it's solar and wind. And those are very prevalent
what about
technologies.
Nuclear energy?
Yeah, and nuclear is part of the equation. What folks talk about now is small modular reactors, that those are the newer technology. And we could get into, oh boy,
I can see ready to crack open the textbooks.
Yes, and I don't want to belabor the point because my team always says, please keep it high level, don't go into the weeds.
I get that in my profession also, trust me.
But what I want to say is something that I don't believe gets talked about enough in circles when we're talking about renewable energy, and we're not talking enough about renewable natural gas and biogas and other waste to energy opportunities, because I oftentimes say, don't let waste go to waste. We already have a waste problem, and then we have landfills, we have dairy farms, we have wastewater treatment plants that we can put anaerobic digesters in those sites, and we can make biogas from them. And if you refine them further, you make renewable natural gas that can be put in the pipeline.
Okay, I have a lot of homework to do apparently. But so now let's get to some of the juicier topics over here. So we started talking about foreign policy. So what is your position on the war? I mean, right now we are sort of maybe supporting still the Ukrainian side on the Ukraine-Russia war. We had the military operation in Venezuela. We also are currently in a conflict with Iran as well. So do you agree with what the U.S. government is doing at this time? And if not,
my issue is always that Trump never seems to have a plan or an exit strategy. And that is my gripe with him all the time, every day, because with him, it's always chaos, confusion. It's taking the head of the state of Venezuela. He's locked up right now. I don't know day to day what other conflict he's going to get us into. So I am concerned that I don't know, Rabbi, if you saw the United Way's report, the ALICE report. I don't know if you're familiar with that. ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. It is an annual report.
It's quite a mouthful.
Yes, I know. There's so many acronyms out there. It's a report that talks about the percentage of families who are struggling to pay for the essentials. And I mentioned it earlier: housing, healthcare, groceries, utilities, childcare, gas, transportation. It's all of it. And they have an annual report. I'm waiting for the new one to come out, but the one that I'm still using from last year found that 41% of our district families are struggling to pay for the essentials. And if you start looking at the numbers more closely, because I dig into the numbers, I started to look at, so that's for the whole district, but what about per county and all that? And
I really appreciate your erudition here, really going into all the fine details.
Detail-oriented, that's good. And those are the skill sets I want to bring to Congress. But back to the report.
Duly noted.
Back to the report, 41%. of the district. So that's like 124,000 families. But if you look at the Lehigh County numbers, where most of the people of color are, like Latinos and African Americans, it's 62%. 62% of Latinos and African Americans are struggling to pay for the essentials, a whole 20% more. So when the economy gets worse, and because we have these tariffs that the president, introduces one day, drops them, raises them.
Well, the Supreme Court also shoots them down. So
yeah, but that takes a while. But the impact still is felt on families that are already stretched to the brink. Just, they're already so stretched thin that they don't know how they're going to make ends meet.
So if I understand your argument, which is why are we funding all of these international exploits and military actions? And I think currently they're asking for $2 billion to continue the operations while there are people who are struggling to make ends meet. Is that the argument?
Yes, I was going to get to it.
Oh, okay.
So
it takes me to the next question, which is, the current administration, the Trump administration, they cut funding for the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. And one of the arguments they made was, I think, actually on the grounds of that economic populism, which is why are we funding medicine and food and international aid to other countries when we have, like you just said, so many people here in the Lehigh Valley and throughout the United States who are here in our country and our responsibility who are not yet taken care of. So shouldn't we get our priorities in line? So that was one of the arguments.
USAID also impacted us in the sense of having our farmers be able to have crops that could go to other countries. So that is a way in which our farmers benefited from USAID.
So you're arguing that it wasn't just simply a one-way charitable donation, but the investment in USAID actually paid dividends to United States citizens.
Yeah, to farmers, for example. And the farming community is another one that I take great interest in because my husband comes from 3 generations of dairy farmers.
Oh, wow.
And my grandfather was actually a coffee farmer in Colombia. So I've always had a special place for ag.
Have you gone to Baristi in Allentown? I got coffee with someone once, and I always love, we have good friends at Jay's Local here on the West End, but one time I was taken to Baristi, and actual Colombian immigrants who run that place. And I'm like, wait, Colombia's where the coffee comes from. Oh, what was that?
Don Arturo. Arturo is one of the owners. But out of respect, because he's, older than me, I call him Don. Don is like Mr.
Oh, the Don. Oh.
Don is like Mr.
I think they have that in Italian also. Okay, I'll have to check that one up later. Maybe it's a universal language. But yeah, that was like authentic Colombian coffee. I'm like, something here, I don't know if it's the ambiance or there's something really different about this coffee, but it tastes amazing. So as you were saying about your husband.
Yeah, so like ag is, I know I'm getting away from your answer, but it was just
about your interest in farmers.
Interest in farmers, and I volunteer for Lehigh County's Penn State Extension Advisory Council, and where it's through the Penn State's School of Ag. And last year, around this time, I actually went to Penn State for their digester day because they have a big anaerobic digester at their dairy farm. So
a digester?
Yeah. So it ties to my answer about renewable natural gas and biogas.
Oh, wow.
So the Penn State main campus has a dairy farm, and every year, I think it's an annual, I don't know. Last year I went and they gave us a tour. We learned a lot more about waste to energy, and then we got a tour of the farm and we got a tour of the digester, and we walked through how the manure is put in, in one section, and then it comes out biogas at the very end of the whole process.
Wow, that's, we'll have to do a synagogue field trip. We have a few people from the synagogue I know who'll be listening into this, so we'll have to put that on the list. Now, I want to quote something here. Carol, I follow you on Facebook, and there was a post that grabbed my attention. I'm going to quote it, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions about it. Is that okay?
Yes.
As I said, we're going to get to the juicier stuff now. Okay. This is open quote, when Congress looks nothing like America, it makes worse decisions for all of us. When 51% of the population has only 29% of congressional seats, that's not just unfair, it's inefficient. Blind spots become policy failures. It leads to bad laws and wasted money. I'm the only woman and the only working mom in a primary electorate that is 60% women. I have lots to leverage using my life experiences coming from a working-class union household. I'm also the only bilingual Latina immigrant running. This district is 20% Latino, the largest percentage of any swing district in Pennsylvania. It's about your neighbors. And when your neighbors don't have a seat at the table, their problems become invisible. Dramatic pause. Until they become everyone's problems. Very well written. So I have 3 questions based on this. Number 1, this one is a little bit more of the softball, which is you invoked your identity as a woman and also as a mother. So how do you find that that's going to inform the decisions you make potentially as a member of Congress?
It informs me because I remember when I paid more for childcare than I paid for my mortgage. Those are not for childcare.
We're paying for childcare right now also. I totally know what you mean.
For childcare, okay, more than my mortgage. And I know what it's like to struggle to, balance all the other costs that were increasing in a household. And I know what it's like right now for a lot of women who are worried that because they got married, that it's going to be a complication for them to vote. And I know what it's like to be worried about violence against women. And I had a friend who was stalked. That is incredibly panic. It was a real struggle for her to let her guard down ever, because it was terrifying for her. So I understand, a lot of the issues that a lot of moms are going through, and those are the perspectives and the stories that I've had acquired throughout, my life, living it, and also just interacting with others.
Right.
I stand by what I say. It's about better representation. It's not a zero-sum game. Like, just because I think that we should have better representation, I'm not trying to take it away from anyone else.
So good. So you're going to my next question. Okay. So my next question, which is based on this, is you invoked your female, Latina, and immigrant identity as a pitch for people to nominate you and then ultimately to elect you to Congress. Are you concerned that such a strategy could potentially backfire? For instance, what's to stop a white male from invoking his white and masculine identity, saying, well, I can represent white males better, so all white males should vote for me? So I'm just curious if that kind of strategy, while I see how it's compelling, could potentially backfire in the other direction.
I talk about being a woman and understanding the issues that working families are going through. So I'm not saying only vote for me because I'm a woman. It's vote for me because I understand what's going on. I have a track record of helping others get ahead. Mm-hmm. It is an experience that you have. How long have we been speaking? I don't know. 30 minutes?
We're about 30 minutes in. You're doing great.
So you're learning about all the ways in which I've helped people get ahead. So yes, I am a woman and I am a Latina in a district that has 20% Latinos. It's the largest percentage of Latinos of any swing district in Pennsylvania. I understand the immigrant experience. I can go to Congress when they're working on immigration reform, which has to be done because it's not working. It's broken right now. Who better than an actual immigrant who's lived
that experience?
The experience. Who better than when they're talking about childcare, understands childcare, understands actually the importance of investing in early childhood education, because I led a children's coalition of the Lehigh Valley that worked on ways in which we can make real significant progress by investing. And I know the programs. I mean, I worked at a Head Start. I oversaw food pantry. I filled in for the senator. I connected people to the services they needed. So it's my background has given me an insight and a perspective that other candidates don't have. And I talk a lot about also being an engineer. I'm the only candidate that has a STEM background who understands that engineers look at the root causes of things. Politicians promise, engineers deliver.
That's true. You're result-oriented.
Yes, results-oriented, detail-oriented. I really want to get to the heart of things. And those are in addition to the fact that I happen to be a woman and I'm a Latina, immigrant, bilingual community leader. That's another thing. Being bilingual is really important, and I can reach segments of the community that the other candidates can't because I'm completely fluent in Spanish. I give interviews completely in Spanish, and I can relate to them and talk to them in a language that they feel more comfortable in, even if they're citizens and have been for decades. If they feel more comfortable speaking in Spanish, I can do that. Those are the reasons why I'm the best fit to represent this district.
So we're talking about policies that would affect women, that would affect immigrants. The women and immigrants aren't just abstractions and theoreticals, but you have someone who's actually a woman, who's an immigrant, who's Latina, who can actually speak to the real lived experience. That's what you're arguing.
That's right. And America should reflect its people. Because it is ineffective to have and wasted money on policies that are not really getting to what needs to be addressed when politicians don't know what really needs to be done and the fixes that they need, because they can't connect with segments of the community. They don't know what the issues are. That I stand by that. Those become blind spots and policy failures and wasted money.
So let me get to one more policy,
sure.
and then we'll go to the final stretch over here. So currently, there is a bill called the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or the Save America Act. They were very clever with how they named it. It's like, who doesn't want to save America, right? It's when you name things that way, it makes it almost one-sided. So for those who aren't familiar, it's a federal legislative proposal aimed at tightening voter registration and identification requirements for federal elections. While federal law already prohibits non-citizens from voting, this act will introduce new documentation and verification mandates. As of, I believe, this past February, the bill has already passed the House of Representatives and is currently a major point of contention in the U.S. Senate. It requires documentary proof of citizenship, among several other provisions, to ensure what they would argue would increase election integrity. I imagine this bill would basically have a huge impact on the community you would be representing, and I just want to understand your position on it.
I'm completely against this legislation and any other pieces of legislation that makes it harder for people to exercise their right to vote. I have a driver's license that is a real ID.
Yeah.
So I took extra steps, and I went to the Department of Motor Vehicles, PennDOT. Here, they call it here. In Jersey, they call it, the DMV. But in any case, I have a license, and it's my understanding that women won't be able to use their license, that they have to show like their passport or a birth certificate. It's just extra hurdles. And I have a problem with that for other communities. And we've seen Republicans try to make it harder for people of color to also vote. And so I'm against any and all instances of making it harder for people to vote. Why can't we use a license to show proof that we are who we are? And why do people have to then dig out their birth certificate or or a passport that they might not have? A lot of Americans don't have a passport.
That's okay. So I appreciate your clarification in that position. Now, There was an interview that was done quite some time ago. The Morning Call covered it, and I think it took place at Lehigh University. So this is back when there weren't just 4 candidates left for the Democrat primary, which I should have led off by saying that's the one that you're vying for. The Republican one with Congressman McKenzie is uncontested as of now. But at that forum, at least the coverage I saw, it sounded like pretty much all of the Democrat candidates agreed on virtually every single policy question. And I'm just curious, other than, of course, your remarkable resume and your unique lived experience, in terms of actual substantive policy, is there any way that you would differ from the rank and file of the Democrat Party?
I just go deeper into the need for immigration reform because of my background and more specifics on like what needs to be done. But at the core, we have to do something about this because we have got to put a stop to Trump's ICE that's terrorizing immigrant communities all over America, including this one. I go to the Cathedral Church of the Nativity where the EARN program is out of the Emergency Response Network.
Bethlehem?
Yeah.
Oh, we had we did actually have someone on. That was episode number 2, Reverend Mariah Cheltvait. So she's part of that.
Yeah. So we need to do something ASAP to restrain this Trump's ICE that's out of control, that's terrorizing communities like mine. I talk a lot about energy, and that is something that I go deeper and wider than any other candidate because of my experience, because I know a lot about waste to energy and anaerobic digesters and biogas. I'm a member of the American Biogas Council. I just have...
I didn't even know there was such a council that existed.
There you go. Now you do.
You're here for a lot of cool things.
So I just have a lot of depth and breadth to me. Even the experience volunteering as the chair of Latinas in Tech, Greater Philadelphia chapter, I bring real credibility to Congress. I can step in on day one. I don't need on-the-job training. I can leverage the experience that I have in energy and mental health. Yeah, I know it starts from like mental health and it goes up.
Well, that's what I'm curious about.
Tech, AI.
So when you're not doing engineering, mental health, and politics, I mean, when you have maybe 2.5 seconds to breathe and do something of a recreational nature, I mean, like, what do you do for fun?
I do like to walk. I love all the trails that we have here in the Lehigh Valley. We have a great Upper Saucon Rail Trail.
Oh, I have to check that one out.
Yeah.
I'm usually just defaulting to Trexler Park in Allentown, but I have to check that one out now.
We have great parks in Allentown and so many others. It's an opportunity to spend more time with my family. And that's really important to me. My husband, my 2 kids, my daughter just was here for spring break. She is now back in college. And there's that hole that is left when your child goes back after spring break. I'm looking forward to her coming back in the summer and being a mom and just connecting with so many other parents is why I'm doing this. Like my son recently was really panic-stricken and saying he's really afraid that this Trump administration is going to implement a draft. And he's almost 16, and that is really, I know that's coming from a place of real fear for him.
Wow.
And I worry about that.
I didn't even realize that was something that was on the radar or on the horizon, but I guess anything could happen these days. Let me ask just 2 more questions, and then this will be our wrap-up. Our penultimate question I ask, and I know this isn't like easy for people who are politicians to answer, but that's why I ask it, because I think it's so important, which is throughout our interview, I mean, rightly so, you have given affirmative reasons for why you think you are the best candidate and for the important policies that you and the Democrat Party are trying to bring forth to fruition. At the same time, we are a broader American nation, and I always think it's important that both sides of the aisle, even if we fight vociferously, we're still able to come together as a United States of America. So the question I ask everyone in the political sphere is, what on the other side of the aisle? Is there something there, some kind of slither of something that you could admire about them that you could share with us?
I admire the folks on the other side who put people above politics, who want to do right by this country and above any one leader. I saw that. I saw Liz Cheney did that, for example.
Oh, yes.
And I actually saw her speak. I bought her book. I saw her speak at Lehigh University a couple years. Was it last year? 2 years ago. 2 years ago. That, to me, is admirable. When we put people above politics, when we put the love of this country, I have a tremendous love for this country, a gratitude that runs very deep because
so let's actually, before you go on, that's my final question, which is the 250th anniversary of the United States is coming up in a few months.
Woohoo!
So I think sorry for interjecting, but I think you just started answering it. So what does that mean to you?
It means 250 years of this wonderful experiment that we have, and we have to protect it. That's why I'm running for Congress, because I couldn't stay on the sidelines and watch a leader, Trump, shred our Constitution and impact us in so many negative ways. And I can't stay on the sidelines and continue to have a great paying job, career at PPL and just mind my own business and put blinders on. I couldn't do that in good conscience. I love this country too much. My parents sacrificed everything to be here. I owe it to everyone who I've ever interacted with here who needs to have fighters that are really going to stand up for them. That's why I'm doing this, and I think it's a beautiful thing that we're about to celebrate 250 years of our democracy, and I'm willing to fight to protect it.
Ms. Obando-Derstine, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you joining me as I walk through the valley. Thank you for joining me as I walk through the valley. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and subscribe to our show. If you have questions or would like to book a live recording or have a speaking request, please email rabbi@sonsofisrael.net. This is Moshe Kurtz. I look forward to having you join me next time as I walk through the valley.